3.5.
Yeah. Now we're
It
live.
was at the 10-minute mark we were going.
All right.
Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. This is July 12th, 2021, 5:30 p.m. Historic Preservation Commission regular meeting. It's normally on the first Monday of the month, but because it's July 4th weekend, it's the second Monday of the month. So we're going to call the meeting to order. Would you take the roll, please?
Lynn Bilodeau,
Here.
Joe Chappell. Here. Darrell Covington, absent. Valerie Duncan, absent. Adam Ropp.
Here.
And Patrick Kerr. He's here. All right, we have a quorum.
Thank you, sir, and I'm assuming we have no public comments other than the applicants that are going to comment as their issue comes.
That is correct.
So first thing, approval of minutes from the meeting June 7th, 2021. Since we've had this for 5 days now, I'm assuming everybody's had a chance to read the minutes. Any comments, anything that we need to change on the minutes? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Joe, all right. Joe Chappell,
Yes.
Adam Ropp,
Yes.
Patrick Kerr,
Yes.
and Lynn Bilodeau.
Yes.
All righty.
Item 4, HPC application 21-011. Discussion and potential action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness for the replacement of 6 second-story windows on the rear alley side of a building located at 105 West Oklahoma Avenue. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, as you indicated, this is for the J.C. Penney building downtown, and it's for the back part along the alley. I provided you substantial information about windows in my staff report. We recently had SHPO training regarding windows, so I will just leave it at that, and if the commission has any questions of me, if not, I'll leave it back to you.
And is the applicant present?
I am.
And he is. You want to come to the microphone, state your name?
My name is Ed Wood. I own the building at 105 West Oklahoma Avenue. Appreciate Commission looking at this. These windows in the back of the building have been boarded up for probably 60-plus years. They have, I'm sure JCPenney's must have boarded them up many, many years ago. Now, over the years and being southern exposure, the cladding is falling off. The windows themselves have been unrepairable, well, since I bought the building over 20 years ago. We just really haven't done anything with them because, well, they were boarded up. Now the boarding is coming off. It looks bad. It is a visual effect to the city coming up on Division from the south. I researched different windows. Being that they are second story, they are very large. They're basically 6 feet by 8 feet, double hung windows, 2/2 lights. Modern windows cannot be manufactured that big anymore and be working. So going with looking at thermal in the packets you have in front of you, I don't have a packet since I gave it to staff, but that's okay. I really don't need it. But there is also a chip. I brought an actual metal color chip. I didn't want to go vinyl for the simple reason vinyl will deteriorate. These are low E. They will help the building in that I'm not changing the structure. I'm just removing the wood frame that's in there, and they go back into the hole that's there. If somebody wants to go back with wood windows in the future, there's no structural change to the building. So this also is UV resistant. It will help whatever's in the building, and it will dress up the building. The only thing that I am not, because I can't get up there to look, and even on the inside, you have to go up a 12-foot step ladder to even reach them. They're that high up. Is that what will go in their place instead of a 1/1 window or a single unit window with 2/2 would be 2 single double hung windows with a mullion in between, which would give, from the picture you have there, will give sort of a shadow line. It'll be a little bit bigger, but not much more than what's there now, and should not be noticed from the street level. That's
Okay, and you lost me on the instead of one window.
Yeah, me too.
okay.
Two windows?
Right now, it is a single double hung window
Right, in each opening.
in each opening.
Okay.
Right, so what we have now will come out, those would come out, and in there would be two double-hung 1/1 windows with a mullion, two of those with a mullion in between, to give the appearance of a 2/2 window, which is there now.
You didn't paint sideways?
No, they'll just be butted right next to each other. Instead of having one window that opens up, there'll be two windows that open from top.
In one opening.
In one opening, yes. So in other words, there'll be 6 windows coming out and 12 windows going in.
Okay, it's really hard for me to visualize.
Come up here and draw that. Show me what's going to be in.
Well, I thought these were in wood, the bars.
They're called mutton.
Well, the muttons that are there now, but what will go in is a mullion instead of the mutton.
Right, that was what I made in the staff report, that the design that you're proposing is different. Not only is it not wood, but the design is different.
Correct, and well, wood is not the best thing to go back there.
It's code, though.
In today's world, second-story windows, we're trying to, plus it's green, I'm trying to make it look better.
We'll have to write that in the design standards, the financial exceptions.
What we're doing here is, these will come out, there will be a separate windows going with a mullion in between, and it'll be 1/1, or just one light over one light on each side of the mullion, which will give you the appearance of 4 separate pieces of glass.
Draw it there.
Okay, what you have now
It's the big square hole.
is a big window with mutton down the center of each. And these are both of this one goes up and this one can go down. It's a double hung window. It's a double hung window. And it's just one big window, and they're like 6 foot by 8 foot, huge. So now what we'll do is we'll go back to the same hole, not change anything at all, and put a mullion down the center, just a little bit wider if it's there, and there'll be 2 windows. It'll just be, so now both, either side is independent. Instead of one big window, there'll be 2 smaller ones that look close to it.
And have you, and for the sake, this is actually live, so if you want to step back to your mic, I think we'd be better having our conversation that way. And do we know the exact dimensions? I know you said it's about 6 by 8, but
They're about,
really,
that's, without going up there, it could be a few inches either way, but they are,
because if those are 8 foot tall, then they look no more than 4 foot wide. I can't imagine that being 6 foot wide.
they're bigger than they look. They are much bigger. When you're up next to them, they get very big. It's like the front windows, which are not a part of this, but the front facades are 7 foot by 9 foot. I've already replaced 2 of them.
They're 48 by 80,
They're what?
48 inches by 80.
Oh, you counted the bricks.
It's bigger than 4 foot, sir.
Doesn't look it.
It is. Because a 4 foot piece of plywood will not go set straight up in it. You have to add to it. It's at least 5 foot, maybe, I was always saying 6, but it's at least 5 foot by 8 foot. I've had to board up the windows inside because one of the upper sashes has fallen, and a 4 foot piece of board will not fit in that frame.
And have you looked at any other options to see if you can get a window, a single window that actually fits?
Yes, nobody
inside?
makes them. They don't go back unless, well, they would have to be custom built by somebody. I would probably end up having to do it. It's what I'm doing in the front windows. I'm custom building the front windows.
Are these bars staying?
I would like to take them out, but if they're part of the masonry, they will probably stay there.
So they'll have to replace the windows from the inside?
Yes.
If the bars stay. And are any of the bars missing?
No, not that I know. But they would, all the windows would be uncovered at that point and not be boarded up,
Right.
the big ones. And we're not taking the small windows over the bath. There's bathrooms with bars over them. Those will still remain original.
Well, I know that SHPO really likes wood for wood.
It isn't alike, it's a
Well, I-
requirement by the codes. That's why most of these buildings downtown aren't eligible for tax credits, because of all the preservation that's been done is against the codes.
Well, obviously, if this was first floor where you could put your hand on the window, or in a subterranean floor, but on second and third, and this is way up on an alley, I was considering this would be the best option for the building and for longevity.
And that's really close to Emerald Village color, and that's one of their powder coats. Dark green.
That is actually very close to the color the front facade is. Which is also an upgrade to the cost of the windows altogether, too, come to find out.
And Dan, how does, on the bottom of the second page of the staff report, replacement windows on secondary elevations that have limited visibility must match the historic windows in size, configuration, and general characteristics, though finer details may not need to be duplicated and substitute materials may be considered. So if we required an aluminum-clad wood window, which SHPO says counts wood for wood, on a secondary level, are we allowed to take into effect that this isn't something that somebody can look and see every little detail of, especially if it's behind the bars? I'd really like to know if the bars, if you think they're original and you're certain they're going to stay.
Well, J.C. Penney put them in sometime after 1920, because that is an addition to the building. The building, that elevation was put in after 1920 when J.C. Penney took over that building. And they took a single-story storage area that had been added onto the back of the building at the time and ripped that out and built on top of that. And I'm sure they put them in then because at that point that alley was completely enclosed. You couldn't see, all you could see, you wouldn't even be able to look up because of the building where the parking lot is now in the gazebo on the corner of Harrison and Division. The building that was there completely blocked any view of the back of the building, so that was, I'm sure, put in for security then. But I thought that those were added and it's just pipe. I mean, it's not a wrought iron or anything. It's just plain old galvanized pipe that I thought was put in to drill 2x4s, and the 2x4s mounted to either side of the brick frame or to the. But looking at it now that some of the boarding has fallen off, it looks like they may have gone into the brick itself. If they went into the brick itself, I don't want to disrupt the original masonry. They would stay, but if they are just tacked up there with wood that's rotting, they would go away.
And to hopefully answer your question a little bit better, yeah, I think what that, or at least my interpretation of what that means is that comes down to more of, if you want to say the design, or like the mutton, where, you know, it may be vertical and now it's horizontal, or it's not at all. That's what that aspect is saying. Those small details may not need to be as relevant or duplicated, given that it's on a secondary or less visible area. That's what it's talking about.
Well, and the other thing is with the bars up there, I mean, normally we like to see them replicate as closely as possible the profile of the old window, correct?
Correct.
As far as the wood cut
Yes.
and how those were done. With these up there, I can't even see what the profile of the old window is.
And I can tell you-
Apparently it's up high enough unless you're in a bucket truck.
Exactly, and it's completely out of sight, really, and behind the bars. But the windows, I can tell you, that are there now are very plain Jane, utilitarian, square box pieces of wood that are basically, the sills have rotted out. It's leaking into the building, causing damage.
I'd really like to know if the bars are gonna stay and if they're gonna go, and I don't think you can tell me that.
Well,
Tonight.
it's one of two things. It's like I said, if looking at these pictures now, it looks like the bars are embedded in the masonry. That's where they will stay. I will not pull them out. And that's the only thing. If they are in wood and not well secured to the building, then I would take them out. That would be the only caveat. Personally, I'd like to take them out. My true preference would be to remove them, but I don't want to if they are in the masonry.
Okay. Well, in the sheet I guess that's OSB
That's what it is.
that's covering it up. I mean, that looks like a single sheet as far as the width.
It's not. They're turned sideways. They're not single sheets. It's very deceptive. The scale of that building is much bigger than it looks.
Anybody have any ideas? Anybody want to make a motion? Anybody? What are you thinking, Patrick?
Big windows hard to fit, or hard to replace.
I understand, they're hard to replace. And I guess, have you already had somebody go up and measure and get an estimate on windows?
Yes, I have an estimate on what it'll cost.
And,
It's not on there. It's going to be right at $17,000.
well, I don't need the number. I would like to see what they wrote up as far as. the
They
size of
haven't
windows
done
that they're putting
a
in.
precise measurement yet. They've
Okay.
just done a
Okay.
preliminary.
Before we vote on this, I'd really like to know the exact size of the window. I know that's not what you want to hear, Ed, and I hate telling people stuff like that. But you also have to understand, I mean, we've got some pretty strict guidelines that we're going by. These aren't street facing, they're not street level, I get that. I mean, obviously, my preference, and I think it's obvious just listening to me speak about this, I'd like to see one window go back in each hole, at least that. And unless you have precise measurements, I don't know that we can make that determination.
What do you think, Joe? I think that sounds good.
Well, you still have, may I run down there and get a measurement and then come back before the end of this session?
If you can do it that quick,
I may not, but that's okay. I'll get the
Okay.
measurements. If not, we'll.
and if not, then we'll table this and put it on the next, which is, because this is
A short
the
month.
second one, it's only 3 weeks away
Right.
instead of 4 weeks away.
Well, I will do my
Okay.
best to run down there and let you get on with the meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Ed. Get back to the agenda. Item 5, HPC application 21-012, discussion and potential action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness for new Honeybird Home Decor and Gift Shop signage on the window and front facade of a building located at 109 North Division Street. We have a staff report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this is just down the street here, just a little north of here, or, sorry, not down this street, but down Division. On the north side, it's the building that also is Oaks Realty on the front, and then these two units are on the side street of Division. I think there was an electrical contractor there before, and then next door there's a law office, but it's the one unit that's there facing Division. They're looking to have a 3-foot by 4-foot window sign, 12 square feet, as well as a building sign that's on the upper portion of the facade right above their unit, which is 3 by 5, 15 square feet. Neither one of them will exceed the 1/3 in size that they're allowed. And they gave you renderings, and it's up there. I don't have any issue with that, so give it back to the commission for your decision.
Is the applicant present? Would you mind stepping forward? And would you state your name?
My name is Michelle Ducombe.
And Michelle, do you have anything to add to the
No,
report?
I think I added a lot to your packet. I just want to say thank you for y'all's consideration for my application, but I did add a lot of information, all of the dimensions, and I think Dan explained what I'm asking for.
She did a very good job on her application.
Yes,
Thank
you did. More thorough than we normally see.
Yes.
Okay. The sign will not be that large. That looks, I think that's a little bit larger.
Yeah,
than-
because he just did kind of superimposing it
Okay.
on there, but yeah, just to give an idea, but
Yes.
you're right, it's not actual in terms of size.
Right.
But just to give an idea of what it would look like.
The window sign will be made by Vista Print, so it'll be like a vinyl
Stick on
stick. I'm going to put it on the
the
inside.
inside.
And then the top sign, I'm going to paint and make it myself.
Ooh, that's even better.
So is the window sign part, is that a see-through or is that white actually?
It's white.
The white is actually.
It
in
is
the
white. I
background?
thought about doing the clear,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think it's going to show. I don't think it would show. And that really does not represent the size of the sign. I think it's a,
Yeah, because you had indicated 3 by 4, 12
okay,
square feet.
Yeah. And that's what, less than 1/3 of the window size.
Well, in the past, I think generally on window signs, for the most part, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but for the most part, we haven't allowed them to be anything but the letters. Where you can see through the window, it doesn't look like there's a poster on the inside of the,
Yeah.
Okay,
you know what I'm talking about?
I
Where it
do,
would
where
just-
it's clear.
Where it would just say,
Just the-
honey bird with the bird.
Okay, and
With
that's how I
nothing-
first created
With
it.
nothing behind it. Now, you're afraid that it might not show, but you
I
can maybe
was-
change the color, you know, or lighten it up. or-
Yeah. I
But
I would prefer that
other
it,
than that,
yeah. I mean, if it's not going to be approved, then I will switch it and make it clear with the clear back.
we haven't, you know,
Could I ask the city planner a couple questions?
Sure.
On the last paragraph, in your report, it said when the design guidelines were developed, there was no consideration for multi-tenant buildings. Is there anything in the guidelines prohibiting multi-tenant buildings? Or just doesn't?
No, it just, when the design guidelines were done, it, like I said, especially for signage, because what it says is you get one sign per facade. It doesn't say one per business, or, you know, if they're located within a building, that type of thing. Because a general sign code will have it, ours just didn't have it. It's just one of those things where we have to kind of, I guess, you know, use some common sense more or less, or practical sense to say, well, all right. And so that's why the area obviously is shrunk down to what they can have, because now we're using a 1/3 of that. It's just something that, again, you know, we should put in there so it's understood, because you could get in a situation where a building side becomes nothing but a signage, you know, billboard type of thing.
Okay, so if there were only one tenant in this building, and the tenant was wanting to add additional signs,
No.
this would not be allowed?
No. They would have to do the front or the side, but not both. Well, I'm sorry, they could do one on the front and one on the side, that's it.
Okay, and
Because you get one per facade. But again, we're talking about where we have, obviously, in this case, a portion of the building that has 2 units, and then we have another unit that's on the other side. And again, I'm just pointing out that that's stuff that when we update our codes, that we need to, you know, take into consideration. It's not a bad thing, it's just we need to accommodate it so somebody does not take advantage of it.
Is that door, that doesn't go into your space?
no, that is Jill Oaks, or Jill Oaks Tonti.
Yeah,
That is not, there
Oh,
are
it
2
goes into-
doors.
Oh. it's
right,
Locked.
Yeah.
It's 2 tenants, and so this, I have one.
From here to here.
yeah. And then to the north is another separate unit.
There are, I think,
Yeah,
2 units.
yeah.
2 more, so on that, right there in that space, there are 4 doors.
Yeah, there's 4 units.
With, yeah,
Yeah.
that means there could be 4 tenants.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then on the front is Oaks Real
Right.
Estate.
Yeah, so basically you have a building that, again, it can accommodate up to 5 different businesses. And like I said, the design guidelines were just, that was not thought of when those were put into place. So it's just something we need to think of. But it would not be realistic or fair to say, well, the only one that gets it is Oaks on the front and the rest of you don't get anything.
Well, and, you know, I'm going to paraphrase this. Abe Lincoln said the best way to get an unjust law repealed is to strictly enforce it.
Yeah,
For sure.
But I hate to do that.
well, we're well beyond that point, yeah.
If we
Yeah.
recognize that it's an issue and we
Yeah.
need to address it anyway.
Yeah.
So I hate to strictly enforce something.
If you
on
look
an-
at those
on an
pictures,
applicant.
you'll see
Right.
that there are other
Especially when it's
signs.
obviously that the building's been subdivided along there for.
Yeah, and we've had one on a previous agenda, it wasn't last month, it was the month before, same situation. I believe they had 2 or 3 or maybe 4 tenants in that one building.
Yeah.
I'd be all for it if the window is, you know, has a translucent background. But to me, it looks a little bit like a poster.
So if it, okay, so it looks like a poster. It's not that, if I made it smaller, it wouldn't,
Yeah,
it's about the.
pretty much,
how
I
it's-
mean, even the example that you have here in the, you know, in the store that was here before you.
Yes, Perry Electric.
Yeah, you can, it's, and if you'll notice, that's pretty much all we've okayed
And what I
on
may,
windows through town.
what I may have to do then is change what I have with Vistaprint. I haven't ordered it yet, but I may have to change it all to white. Because with the colors and the black, you just don't see,
Right.
you don't see it.
So if I can, that was one of her big concerns, was she did look at that initially, and it really took away the ability to read what it is, and, you know, she feels it's also, or I feel it's also important that by saying it is the home decor and there's also advertising what that business is. So it helps in that respect.
Well, I think that could be said for any of our buildings downtown. I mean, you could put a big white board up in all the windows and maybe draw more attention to the wording, but I just think that typically that kind of thing, typically more for a temporary sign that has
Right.
a frame back on it that's in
Right.
the window.
I think I was trying to make the 2 signs similar,
Cohesive, yeah.
with similar colors, and I couldn't do that with the without putting the white back on the window. So,
Anybody else's thought? I mean, that's my thought on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I brought it up and asked initially, was because I didn't like the white background either. And not just because I just don't like it, but that's not really the Victorian style.
Right,
And so that's kind of what the issue is with that.
okay.
What do you think?
I was trying to see if I had any pictures of the buildings downtown that had signs like that. I couldn't find any.
Yeah.
I didn't go somewhere like this, so.
Yeah, I mean, the design,
I
oh,
don't have a
sorry, go ahead.
problem with it,
Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve as long as you make the bottom sign translucent. And you can even change it to white. Or
I would have to
color,
change
but
it.
it needs to be
Yeah.
where you see
Right.
through the window.
I do think I'd have to change it, or it would just
And
feed
you could-
into the colors of the
And you could do that
indoor.
with working with Dan
Okay.
and not have to bring it back.
So if I think that it would work with the colors are okay, it just needs to be clear back.
Yeah,
Okay, and I think I'm gonna
Just on
have
the
to change
window.
it white, but, yeah, just on the window.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Did I make a motion?
Yes, you did. Yeah, I was waiting for a second.
second.
Okay.
So there's a motion to approve, provided the window signage is at least translucent.
Translucent.
Somebody used the word clear, I think Joe used the
Pretty
word
much the
translucent.
same, pretty much the
Yeah.
same design.
Yeah.
Right.
And
But just not the white
that
background.
if you
Right.
work with staff, we're fine with you working with staff and not having to bring it back to us for final approval.
As long as you don't
Is
do
that accurate?
chartreuse,
Yeah.
like lime green,
Yeah.
probably.
Just Dan, we'll
That, we've had an issue
we'll
with.
put it all on Dan.
I was
Motion
gonna
and a
say,
second.
the colors
Any
aren't
other
the, yeah,
discussion?
yeah. Okay. Joe Chappell,
Yeah.
Adam Ropp,
Yes.
Patrick Kerr,
yes.
and Lynn Bilodeau.
Yes,
Okay. Got it.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for
And thanks
being
for
a part
doing
of
your
downtown
business.
Guthrie.
What is your business again?
It's a home decor.
Home decor.
It's actually, new and gently used, home decor.
Nice.
Paint, art,
Okay.
a variety of things. It's not an antique store.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank
Perfect.
you. All right, awesome. Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, item 6.
Thank you.
Yeah.
HP application 21-013, discussion and
Thank
potential action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness for new charmed boutique window signage for a building located at 117 West Oklahoma Avenue. Staff report?
Thank you. This one's pretty much like, straightforward there. They're looking for one window sign, 4x6, which is 24 square feet on the one window. And the size will not exceed 1/3, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure if they're looking to have the white background with the frame like they have there, or if it's going to be clear. And unfortunately, the applicant's not here, so,
Have to table that.
yeah. I mean, you can, because I can find out from them.
I make a motion to table.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, perfect. That works easier.
Mr. Wood?
lazy way out.
Yeah, exactly.
You should have said, anybody say no?
That's it.
For allowing me to revisit this,
You
but
bet.
the measurements for those windows from masonry frame to the sides of the window are 62 inches by 84 inches. The actual pane of glass is actually a 2-foot, I didn't measure
Right.
but the horizontal width is actually 2 foot by itself on each single pane of glass.
So 5'2".
Yes,
Wide.
by 7 tall.
By 7, yeah.
So they are a little smaller than I was expecting, but they are still,
But larger than the 4 foot. Okay.
That's just so, it's an optical illusion.
it is. It's the same with the front facade too. They are, when we started measuring those and pulling them out, and those are 7 foot by 9 foot, and it's a working window.
What about the metal?
The metal,
Wait, did you say 7 feet?
yes, it's a garage door. There's 6 garage
Wide
doors on the
wide?
second floor. Huh?
7 feet wide?
Yes,
God.
a working
Are you
window.
using like a European tape measure?
No, but the counterbalances are pretty neat because they stand about so tall, they're 65 pounds each, and then somebody's in red fingerprint says Guthrie OT on them, so it's pretty cool.
That's a massive.
Oklahoma territory. Very cool. Any ideas?
What about the metal?
The metal.
Is it gonna stay?
Oh, the
The bars?
bars. Again, I would prefer them to go away. But if they are part of the masonry, then they will stay. I would prefer them to, that way, full sunlight, and I think it would look better, but if they can't, and I don't really want to get into redoing the rear facade or taking out masonry to,
And how visible is this from Division? I'm always looking at
right
cars.
now, it's, when, in the summertime, after everything leaves out, it's not that visible. But in the fall, after all the leaves go, you can see it. I see it. I see it every time I drive. I look down the alley and at that every time I drive by. It will be a side improvement. I mean, I see other buildings around town that have gone with charcoal extruded metal frames all over, and I'm trying to think, well, this is actually more aesthetic to the period, and it should look better than a lot of that.
And being a second story, and there is no particular profile, I mean, and this is not
No,
original to when the building was built.
No.
Probably original to the addition sometime
it's
after
original to the
1920.
addition sometime after 1920.
Well, and I certainly understand trying to find windows that are 5 foot 2 inches wide.
And I really would like them working windows because,
Sure.
well, put back some of the old mechanical. When the doors are open, the windows are up, that becomes quite a chimney and draft through there to keep the building cool.
Somebody have a motion?
I move to approve.
Second? I'll second.
Joe Chappell,
Yes.
Adam Robb,
Yes.
Patrick Kerr,
Yes.
Lynn Bilodeau.
Yes.
Commission, thank you very much. It
You
will,
bet.
I think it'll look better. Yes, I agree that it's not completely historic, and I really try to keep it as close as I can, but I think this is a great,
It's on the front of your building.
oh, heck no.
If it's the front, if
I
it's
would
street
never bring it
level,
to you. In fact,
And then,
well, we won't go there on camera.
understand, thank you. And I appreciate you running back and getting measurements and getting back here. And I believe, with that, do we have any staff comments?
Nope.
Do we have any commissioner comments? With that, we're adjourned.